About 2 feet away from my door, all of a sudden I heard gunshots in the stairwell, which is about 20 feet away from my room. And then kids were screaming and then running back towards me and towards the end of the hallway. So I just went in this very strange autopilot mode where I pivoted on my feet. I unlocked my door, and then kids just started pouring in my room. I don't know how many kids were in there, but I was pulling them and getting them in and shouting at them to get in the room. And then I suddenly saw the shooter about 20 feet from me, standing at the end of the hallway, actively shooting down the hallway, just a barrage of bullets. And I'm staring at him thinking, why is the police here? This is strange, because he's in full metal garb, helmet, face mask, bulletproof armor, shooting this rifle that I've never seen before.
I kind of joked to him about it and said, I'm surprised you weren't the one who did it. And he just gave me a huh? So that's really what happened.
You were walking down the hall. He had already fired at that time.
Yes, sir, with him.
Weren't you scared?
In the moment I wasn't, because there was definitely another shooter involved, but...
Oh, you think he was not the only one?
No, definitely not.
Why do you say that?
Because when shots were fired, I saw him after the fact. And the shots were coming from the other part of the building. So there definitely had to be 2 shooters involved, I believe.
Walks in this door and starts shooting. Bang!
The fake active shooter inside this Florida mosque isn't the most startling thing here. It's all the Muslims just sitting there, watching. It's what Nizar Hamzi calls the victim mentality.
Run, hide, fight. I want to make sure you guys understand this is dead serious.
Hamzi's high in demand these days. He's an American Muslim who also happens to be a Broward County Sheriff's deputy, and he's given 6.
Did Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel, who we here at the Rebel are calling on to be fired by Florida Governor Rick Scott, deputize a Hamas-connected terror associate? There's a deputy working at the Broward County Sheriff's Office named Nizar Hamzi, deputized by Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel when the former Sheriff Al Lamberti, under the Lamberti administration, refused to hire Hamzi. Now, typically, the reason for refusal to hire someone in law enforcement is confidential. We don't know why.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with another Ramadan, mashallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has locked the shaitan, and alhamdulillah, the sheriff continues to lock the bad people, inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Brothers and sisters, I wanted to stand here before you today. Is Lisa here? She needs come up. It's important that we hear from our community, inshallah. I won't take much time, and I'll introduce the sheriff, but I want to testify before you, brothers and sisters, because it's important for you to hear from us, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, a couple of years ago, I had an opportunity to witness our sheriff be sworn in. And he said something that resonates with me, and I want to share it with you so you know the type of individual and what he does. He said, regarding our youth, our children, because we all focus on our children very much. He said he's going to measure his success by how many kids he keeps out of jail and not how many kids he puts in jail. Takbir. Brothers and sisters, this was an indicator for me that this man is a straight man. He is a man of honor, of haqq, of justice.
There's a lot of disturbing, incredibly disturbing information coming out on this deputy, Nizar Hamzeh. Now, deputies I've spoken to in the agency don't really understand why Hamzeh is there. He's not a particularly active road deputy or police officer. He's not a well-known investigator or considered particularly competent. What he does seem to do is bring Scott Israel to radical mosques. He brought Scott Israel to one mosque in an area of Florida called Pembroke Pines, just on the west side of Broward County, only about 20, 30 minutes outside of downtown Fort Lauderdale, a mosque with ties to Al-Qaeda, a mosque with ties to terrorist Jose Padilla. He's brought him to other radical mosques, and there are photos of Sheriff Scott Israel with his arm around Hamas terrorist people introduced to him by Deputy Nizar Hamzeh.
Speak at this mosque, this temple, anytime is an honor. But to be able to come in here and do it during the month of Ramadan, a month of atonement, the holiest month of the year, a month when we're all about family and prayer, that's something special.
I'm shooting you. I'm still shooting you. I'm shooting you and I'm killing you, and everyone is just looking at what I'm doing. That's real. You need to understand that. So if you're dealing with the threat, deal with the threat. You're able to conceal in the state. It's your Second Amendment right. So I want to go over some things with you regarding your right to return fire, because it's important. And we need to know our rights, and that's what my job is, to make sure you know your rights.
Could it be because Scott Israel is a far-left Democrat? And like many far-left Democrats, like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who is a congresswoman in Broward County, Florida, an ally of Sheriff Scott Israel, they coddle terrorists. This is concerning to me because I'm not only former law enforcement, I'm a resident of Broward County, Florida. Scott Israel is my sheriff.
We put this team together. A couple of people in the media criticized me. And they said, the sheriff's bringing his friends together and bringing them onto the police department. And I remember when it was on the newscast that night.
This is why we here at The Rebel are asking you to sign our petition at www.firescottisrael.com. A petition that I'm going to personally hand deliver to the Broward County Commission, who has oversight of the sheriff's office, Attorney General Pam Bondi, who is our state's chief law enforcement officer, and Florida Governor Rick Scott, the one person who, after that review, after an investigation, has the authority, the constitutional authority, to suspend or remove Sheriff Scott Israel. We want to see him removed. We want to see him fired. But we really need to dig into these radical ties this deputy, Nizar Hamzeh, has.
You know, let me talk about Nizar for a second. Is Nizar my friend? Yes, he's my friend. Is he a phenomenal deputy sheriff, and am I proud of him? Yes, I am. But he's not here wearing the same uniform as me because he's my friend or because he's an excellent deputy sheriff. Let me tell you why he's here. I have a poster, and the poster has 10 lions, and these lions are walking across the plains of Africa. And you could tell by the look on these lions, these aren't lions out for a stroll. These are lions out for a deer. And you can see these are 10 hungry lions. And as they walk across the plains in this photo, the top of the photo, the top of the picture said, "Went on a mission." And the bottom says, "Surround yourself with like-minded individuals." And that's what leadership is all about. Bringing people. We don't have to think alike. We don't have to look alike. But we have to be on the same mission. And that's why Nizar is here with us on this team. then family, then Allah. He's got his priorities right. And that's what I've done. Surrounded myself with like-minded individuals.
We want you to sign our petition at www.firescottisrael.com. I also want you to watch my longer 1-hour show, Off the Cuff Declassified, where we're going to dig very deep into this topic. I'm bringing on an expert, an anti-terror expert from Broward County who has been studying this for years. Subscribe to our premium service at www.therebel.media/shows.
And then I suddenly saw the shooter about 20 feet from me, standing at the end of the hallway, actively shooting down the hallway, just a barrage of bullets. And I'm staring at him thinking, why is the police here? This is strange, because he's in full metal garb, helmet, face mask, bulletproof armor, shooting this rifle that I've never seen before. I don't know when I decided it was the right time to close the door. I grabbed the handle with both hands, and that's when I got nicked, or grazed, or whatever you call it.
So a bullet hit your arm?
Yes. As I'm closing my door, I'm shouting at my next door neighbor, Mr. Scott Beagle, to close his door. And he's the kind of man that would just keep that door open a little longer. You know, he's all about the kids, you know, but he couldn't see the shooter. I had a good visual of him, which is why I yelled at him to shut his door now.
35-year-old teacher Scott Beagle among the 17 murdered on Marjorie Stoneman Douglas's campus.
I heard him shoot a barrage of bullets into Mr. Beagle's room. And then he came to my room and shot about 4 or 5 shots into my room, breaking the glass of my door. There's a rectangular piece of glass. And I heard him continuously shooting down the hallway. And I never really knew when he left because we just thought he was still there.
Once you all were inside the classroom, you were with your students.
Yes.
Covering them, kind of like a mother hen.
Yes. Right. Clutching. I think I left fingerprints in one girl. Giving eye contact to other kids who were shaking and freaking out, and I'm mouthing, it's okay, it's okay. It was so quiet, and then all of a sudden I hear helicopters outside, far, far in the distance, it seemed to me. Police officers far, far in the distance. Kids were screaming in the hallway for help. We're trained not to let anybody in the room. And I would say a good 45 minutes went by, maybe an hour, and when we heard the SWAT team come on the floor, but I still didn't trust that it was them because they were banging on the doors. Police let us in. No one got up. And then they just let themselves in and got us out. And on the way out, that's when I saw Mr. Beagle laying on the ground, and I saw my students laying on the ground. I lost 2 students and other bodies and carnage everywhere. It was the most awful sight I've ever seen. It's like from a movie.
How are you dealing, having seen this and it being very, very real?
It's awful. You know, I've never had to deal with anything like this before. I mean, I'm a stoic person to begin with. I'm not the most emotional person. And so when I sit and think and I pause about my 2 beloved students who were killed from that class, it's hard to live with because I love them so much, like they were my kids. I've known Meadow since she's a 10th grader. She took my class because she wanted to have me again, my creative writing class. And Joaquin was like a son. He called me Mom. And it's heartbreaking.
What are you holding on to kind of center you and keep you moving forward and waking up every day with hope?
Well, just that I survived and we have to move on. You know, you can't sit there and cower over it. You still have a life. So we're left here on the planet for a reason. Let's do what we're supposed to do. And if we're not sure what that is, we'll figure it out.